Our final speaker this afternoon is Lauren Kuntz. Lauren is a senior at MIT, majoring in physics and mechanical engineering, with a passion for energy technology and environmental issues. Through internships at Microsoft Research and Fraunhofer Institute, as well as research in carbon capture and sequestration, along with emission mitigation strategies in the cement industry, she's come to realize that solving the energy crisis is not just about technology, but also about public outreach and education as well. Down the road, she hopes to pair energy technology development with education and outreach. Outside the classroom, Lauren is one of the captains of the varsity track and field team. She is a two-time All-American in the pole vault, as well as an academic All-American. At this past year's Indoor Track and Field D3 National Championships, Lauren received the Elite 89 award for being the competing athlete with the strongest academic record. She is also the recipient of MIT's Malcolm G. Kispert Scholar Athlete of the Year Award. The title of Lauren's talk today is Embrace the Challenge, Learning to Clear the Bar. Family and friends, please welcome Lauren Kuntz.
How many problems will you solve at MIT? That was the question I was asked during my first freshman physics class. Gotta love 801. But it's an interesting question. Let's say that we take 3 technical classes per term, each of which has 10 problem sets, with 4 questions on them. Over the course of 8 semesters, that's nearly 1,000 problems. Now, if we include the problems we'll see on tests and finals, saying that each class has 3 exams of 5 questions, that puts the figure at over 1,300 problems. And that's only taking academics into account. If we look outside the classroom, we'll have to deal with feelings of inadequacy, that we just aren't good enough, that we don't deserve to be here. We'll have to learn how to deal with being away from home, finding new support groups, developing meaningful relationships. There is one thing that MIT guarantees. By the time we leave here, we'll have come to face a number of challenges. Some of them big, some of them small. But our path here will be filled with obstacles to overcome and problems to solve. That is what MIT does. It turns us into problem solvers. Now, we can choose to look at these challenges as chances for either success or failure. Each problem set can contain the possibility to get the answer right or wrong. Each test the potential to pass or fail. We can view each setback as a reason to give up, to throw in the towel. Or we can choose to look at these challenges as opportunities to learn. Those setbacks can just become indicators that we need to change our perspective and think about the problem in a totally new way. Each challenge we face has the possibility to teach us about ourselves and connect us with those around us. For me, my first MIT challenge began before I'd even arrived on campus, before I even knew that a place like MIT even existed. It actually reaches all the way back to when I was just 5 years old. For nearly as long as I can remember, I was a gymnast. I loved the sport and wanted to spend every free moment that I had in the gym. In the process of learning a new skill, I would spend months falling on every part of my body. You could always tell when I was learning a new skill by the bumps and bruises. In many ways, it really wasn't all that different from a physics problem. One failed attempt after another failed attempt after another failed attempt. But then one day, everything would just click into place, as though I had always been able to do it. And it just felt so good. This is what my hands would look like before and after a typical bars workout. They were pretty gross. More often than not, my hands would be bleeding in multiple places. And I'd usually hear my coach bellow at me after practice, "Lauren, you need to get the disinfectant and clean your blood off the bars." Yeah. But despite how my hands looked, I was proud of them. They showed how hard I worked and proved that I was a gymnast. Gymnastics was a part of how I defined myself. It only made sense for my hands to show it. Come high school, I was a serious gymnast, training nearly 20 hours each week year-round. I gave it my all, day in and day out, because I desperately wanted the chance to be a college-level gymnast. Going into my senior year, I wasn't Division I caliber, and I knew of the schools that I had applied to, only MIT would offer me a varsity Division III gymnastics program. So on the day MIT admissions decisions came out, I was nervous. This was it. When I logged on to the webpage to check my fate, it took a moment before it sunk in. I had been accepted. I was going to go to the best engineering school of the world, and I was going to get to do gymnastics there. I was fulfilling my dream, and it was awesome. But that emotional high was short-lived. 1 week before the matriculation deadline, MIT made the announcement that it would be cutting 8 varsity sports, one of them being gymnastics. That week was really terrible for me. Really, really terrible. Gymnastics had always been a part of my life. I was not even sure that I knew who I was without it. I was devastated. I had so badly wanted to be a varsity level athlete, and fulfilling that dream had been right there. I had touched it, and now it was just being yanked away. To be honest, there was a part of me that was angry, a part of me that was just saying, no, I am not going to let you do this to me. I am going to find a way to be a varsity athlete. You can just sit back and watch me. If you can't tell, I'm a little bit stubborn. So I started emailing coaches of all sorts of sports: soccer, track, fencing, tennis. I can only imagine what they thought when they read my email. Hi, I know I have no experience in your sport and I've never even played it before, but I was wondering, could I walk onto your team? Let me know, thanks. You would have to be absolutely out of your mind to go for that. Although fortunately for me, the track coach was a little bit crazy. Apparently, gymnasts tend to make good pole vaulters, so he decided to offer me the opportunity to try out for a position in the pole vault. When I got to campus, my teammates taught me the basics: how to hold a pole, how to run with it, how to plant and jump. Once season started, the assistant coach would hold extra practice sessions to help me get caught up. Even so, I was pretty terrible. Now, even if you've never seen somebody pole vault before, allow me to inform you that that is not at all what it should look like. At my first meet, I only jumped 7.5 feet, which is not so good. Let's just say it's kind of comparable to getting a 23 on a test when the average is closer to 79. Yeah, you don't want to do that. The head coach wanted to cut me, but the assistant vault coach saw that I was a hard worker and that I was determined. He had faith that I would get better and insisted I be given more time. From then on, I redoubled my efforts. Going in between classes, I would visualize the event in my head. In my spare time, I watched videos of elite vaulters. And when I didn't have a pole around to practice with, well, I'd go through the motions using a broom. There was one time on a family trip to Croatia when I was doing these broom drills outside, and I actually got stopped by an elderly man. He started speaking to me in Croatian, and I had no idea what he was saying, so I apologized profusely for not being able to understand, at which point he stopped, switched to English, and said, "You jump with pole?" I still can only guess what sort of crazy American he must have thought I was. But all the hard work started to pay off, and little by little, I began to get better. By the end of freshman year, I'd managed to clear 11 feet, which is pretty respectable. I was even able to score the team points in a few championship meets. I started to actually look like a real pole vaulter. Come sophomore year, I qualified for nationals, eventually becoming an All-American. And yeah, I gotta say it is pretty darn cool to be able to say, I am an All-American. But the thing is, that title does not even begin to scratch the surface of everything that I've gained. I've come to learn what it is that makes me, me. I no longer define myself as a gymnast, or even as a pole vaulter. I am a fighter. I take on a challenge and I give it everything that I've got. Making the transition from gymnast to pole vaulter has made me realize that I am so much stronger than I originally thought. That I can be faced with an obstacle, be it a 12-foot-high crossbar or a really tough problem set, but with enough effort and perseverance, I will find a way around it. That it'll all be okay. I have the strength to forge my own path, and regardless of the setbacks I face, I'll make it there in the end, wherever there may be. But I never would have made it alone. It's the faith others have had in me that gave me faith in myself. Without the assistant coach to stand up for me, or my teammates to keep my morale up, or my family, who just cheered for me the whole way, I never would have been able to overcome the challenge. It's their support and their friendship that I've gained along the way that is truly invaluable. I now know that whenever I face a bar too high to clear, they'll be there to give me a boost, or even throw me over. It's these intangibles that really measure the value of challenges. No letter grade can even begin to cover everything that we've learned along the way. With each challenge we face, we build up our own inner strength. Even when we arrive at a wrong answer, we learn what it is that we don't know. And challenges have the amazing ability to connect us. When we're faced by an obstacle, we're driven to reach out, and we find those at MIT who have had similar experiences, those who are facing similar challenges. And we discover a support network, a network where we learn from each other, where we cheer for each other. For me, the track team was that network. They were there to celebrate every clear and inspire me when the bar seemed insurmountable. And just as they were there for me, I'm able to be there for them, to applaud their success and lend them a hand, a slightly calloused hand, when things just aren't going their way. But these support networks extend far beyond the playing field. They're all through MIT. Just look to your extracurriculars and learning communities, your dormitories and living groups. It's these groups, these people, that define MIT. And you find them by pushing yourself to the limit. My 5-year-old gymnast self could never have dreamed that this is where I would end up. For one thing, I would have never even applied to MIT if it weren't for the gymnastics team. My path to collegiate gymnastics did not lead me at all where I was expecting. But you know what? It really isn't about the destination anyway. It's about the journey and everything that I've learned along the way. At MIT, it can be easy to lose perspective. Between endless problem sets and those impossible tests, the challenges that stand between us and our goals can be overwhelming. Sometimes it just feels like MIT tests us by throwing a wrench in our way, by cutting our sports, just to keep things from getting a little too easy. We wouldn't want that. It can seem as though failure is looming in every corner. It can be terrifying. But today, I have a challenge for you. The next time you're faced with an obstacle or setback, embrace it. Take it as an opportunity to think about the problem in a totally new way, to try something entirely different. It's not about whether you succeed or fail. That's irrelevant. Rather, it's about the journey that the challenge will take you on. By embracing each challenge that comes your way, you have the opportunity to learn not only about yourself, but uncover the friends and support that will get you through. And down the road, those will be the things that you remember. Not the letter grade, not the GPA value. That is my challenge to you. You up to it? Thank you.